Well, these days, RICO is, very much in the news, especially in the hip hop world. We talked about this a little bit before the interview, but one of the biggest rappers in the world right now, Young Thug, along with his crew, YSL, along with another very prominent rapper named Gunna, got hemmed up in a RICO case, a state RICO case involving 28 people. Nobody's given bond. These are multimillionaires that are sitting in prison right now awaiting trial.
So there has to be murders involved in this.
Well, yeah. So essentially, this is the way it started. And I actually pulled up the paperwork. I interviewed one of the journalists in Atlanta that had been following this for a year, and we kind of went through it piece by piece. And what happened was, this was, I think, close to, 10 years ago or so. Another gang leader that they had certain issues with, there was a rumor allegedly that he was cooperating. We're not sure about this part. This part's a little bit fuzzy, but this guy, Young Thug, is actually in paperwork renting the car that ends up committing the murder. Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of set the ball rolling, right? So this guy got killed and Young Thug is connected to it based on this car rental. And then this whole thing starts over the course of years. Shortly after the murder, Young Thug goes on social media and says, you guys are out there, you lied to your girlfriend, you lied to your friends, you lied to your mother, then you go in court and tell the truth. Guys like you need to be killed. Sincerely, YSL. That becomes part of the case. And then all these lyrics become part of the case. And him and this other crew starts beefing, and he's like, oh, I should have been killed you if not the way you treat your mother. And then, there's wiretaps here, there's phone conversations there, and they're using lyrics from songs to go along and put the whole thing together. It's really extremely messy. And the fact that no one's being given a bond shows how serious it is. Now, this is a state RICO case as opposed to a federal RICO case. Now, you've gone through both.
Yes.
You've gone through, 2 federal and 1 state RICOs?
Yes.
Got it. Tell me what the difference is between a state and federal RICO.
Well, again, depending upon the state.
This is Georgia in this case.
I'm not familiar with the state RICO law in Georgia.
You were Florida, was it?
Mine was in Florida. They're similar, very similar.
Yeah.
The state cases were designed after the federal racketeering case.
Right.
And basically what they have to prove, if it's the same, number one, they have to prove that there is a criminal enterprise that exists and that you're part of it. Not too difficult.
Yeah.
Usually mafia, how do you not, prove that there's a mafia? There's enough tapes and everybody else talking about it, and one witness can verify that. And then the way the federal racketeering case worked, and it was similar in Florida, the statute, you had to have one crime committed within 5 years. One predicate act committed within 5 years. And then the next predicate act could have happened 30 years ago. It could have been a case that you were acquitted in, but you were accused of, and that could be the second predicate act. Ridiculous, but that's how it happened. And then they don't need much to prove this. From what I'm hearing here, first of all, if these guys are locked up, they're doing it for one reason. They want to flip people, and they'll start flipping.
28 people.
You're gonna have,
There's a high percentage of this.
You're going to see they're going to be making deals, no doubt about it. And listen, if the government doesn't have to go state, federal, if they don't have to go to trial, great. So if they get enough people to turn and they start offering deals to everybody, great. If not, they'll take them to trial. But that's the reason they don't have bail. No doubt about it. They want people to start flipping. They're probably doing it already.
Yeah, and if you look at the case carefully, there was one guy that was affiliated with that crew named Big Bhris. And what really set the ball rolling in terms of the indictments and the arrests was he shot a cop 6 times. And since he's affiliated with this, there was this huge public outrage over this. Sure. So they ended up, essentially saying, okay, that triggered all the arrests and everything else like that. And once the arrests actually started happening, when I was talking to the journalist about this, he basically said that Young Thug's father knew that the indictments were coming and so forth. So you would think that you would clean up house and make sure that there's nothing around when the police end up kicking down your door. But when they ended up raiding Young Thug's house, they found something called a switch, which is a handgun converted into an automatic weapon, which is 10 years by itself, along with a bunch of lean, you know what I mean? Along with the, huge amounts of marijuana, over the limits and so forth. So it's like, he kind of describes, like, you would think that the lawyer would sit there with a wheelbarrow and just like clean out this guy's house. But
That's smart.
It almost seemed like they knew what's coming and they just didn't care. You know what I mean?
You know what?
Like,
They'll start to care now. When they start to think that they're above the law, they can beat the law. That's the beginning of their downfall.
and they had songs like that.
Yeah.
Saying like, there's a song called Take It to Trial, which is now part of the actual case. And they're talking about the judge. That's now part of the case. It's really one of the ugliest situations that I've seen in the hip hop world, including just considering how big the various people are in the situation. And, when I talked to the journalist about this, he thinks, no one's really going to walk away from this. That people are going to be facing 50
Those that
years.
cooperate will walk away with less time, obviously. But you're right, nobody will walk away from it. I mean, if what you're describing, they've got all of this. I mean, look, these cases are so tough to beat. So tough. And if you're just giving them evidence, look, once you think that you're invincible or that you can take care of anything or beat, I took a plea after I beat them 5 times. And Vlad, the witness that was testifying against me in the gasoline case, testified against me in the Giuliani case, and we destroyed him. Destroyed him. That's the only reason the government would deal with me. They were afraid because I already beat their main witness. But I might have gotten convicted. And if I beat that one, they were coming at me again. And when you lose, you're going away forever. So that's why I cut my losses. I had leverage over the government because I beat their major witness in the Giuliani case. And that's when I said, you know what? I got to try to cut my losses here. There's no way if I stay in this life, I'm going to jail at some point. There's no doubt. So let me try to cut my losses now. And that was the whole reasoning behind it. When these guys think that they're invincible, Gotti and all of that, you're out of your mind.
Right, because Gotti was actually buying jury members.
Yeah, well, listen.
He bought. I mean, there was one guy that he paid off $60,000 to.
Yeah.
Who ended up getting caught and going to prison afterwards. Yeah, no, it was just recently that I really figured out how serious witness tampering as a whole is. Yeah. Like, if you try to talk to a witness before your trial, you're going to get a whole set of new charges against you, like hellacious charges where you're facing like 20, 30 years. Because that's essentially the basis of the legal system when you try to break that down. I mean, how often was witness tampering happening in the mafia?
Well, you always try. Yeah, I mean, when you're pooling the jury, or who has a relative who may know him or whatever, you're always seeing that if you can get to somebody quietly, obviously. Like I said, we had 750 guys, so maybe you would know somebody in the jury, or somebody would know that, somebody would know somebody in the jury. So you're always looking for that. But, rarely does it happen. It doesn't happen a lot.